It was the most extraordinary showdown played out in the White House. The U.S. president and his deputy openly caught in a war of words with the Ukrainian president in the Oval Office, who was supposed to be there to help bring about peace to his country by signing a minerals deal. That agreement was meant to mark a new chapter in relations between Ukraine and the United States. Zelenskyy hoped that by giving the U.S. access to Ukraine's resources, he could win security guarantees against future Russian aggression. But instead of signing that agreement, Volodymyr Zelenskyy was accused by Donald Trump of gambling with World War III. Vice President J.D. Vance told him that he'd been disrespectful. Take a look at how this unbelievable moment unfolded in the Oval Office.
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now, you don't. You're playing cards.
Mr. President.
You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you? You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
you
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment, and your men are brave, but they had to use our military.
Yes. What about
if you didn't have our military equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I tell you.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of times
that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards.
Thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
I can tell you
you're
again,
running low on soldiers.
Listen,
you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look. if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me.
For you what,
that wasn't with me.
Means.
That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question.
And I'm joined now by Inna Sovsun. She's a member of the Ukrainian Parliament for the Liberal Holos Party and served as Ukraine's Deputy Minister of Education and Science between 2014 and 2016. Welcome to the day, Inna. It's great to see you. Incredible scenes there at the Oval Office today. What's your reaction?
Well, I think it's fair to say that all of Ukraine is of course shocked with what we have seen. Everyone is trying to come to terms with what is happening, but we knew that the conversation with Donald Trump would be difficult. I don't think anyone expected to see that this attack on President Zelenskyy so obvious and so outrageous, frankly speaking. I think that was that was a new level of offense against Ukraine, and it's amazing to see that this is the way that both President Trump and Vice President Vance talk to the president of the country that is victim to the aggression, while being all nice and friendly to the aggressor state during their negotiations with the Russians. It's amazing to see that. It's shocking, and I still we are still trying to understand how we came to the situation and how should we proceed from here.
So just to look at how Ukrainians might feel about this, do you think they'll be proud of Zelenskyy for standing up to Trump because he did push back, or could they be concerned that he may have burned an important bridge here?
Well, I do think that at this point, Ukrainians feel that there is great injustice being done towards all of us, that we are being accused of starting this war. We are being accused of not wanting peace. And I think that majority of Ukrainians feel that the way that President Trump treated President Zelenskyy was unfair, unjustified, and unprovoked. That's the feeling of most of Ukrainians, that President Zelenskyy was attacked, and he we might like him or not, but he is our president. He's a legitimate president of the country, and he was representing all of us over there. So we feel like all of us have been attacked over there in the Oval Office. So yes, we do think that there should be we should be looking for ways to mend relationships with the Americans. But I do think that when you are being accused for starting this war, for not wanting peace, you should react. President Zelenskyy had to respond to all the accusations that he has heard.
Mm-hmm. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, I don't know if you're aware of his statement. He came out shortly after that meeting saying that he had warned Zelenskyy to not take Trump's bait. If he knew that provocation might be coming his way, and you said it there, everybody knew that this was not going to be an easy meeting because they did want to strike a deal, but on different terms. Why did he let the situation escalate to a point that, from what we know right now, it seems like he was kicked out of the White House?
Yeah, and what we are reading in the news right now is that any deal is not on the table any longer, and it's unclear how the situation will proceed from here. Well, I think it's very difficult to judge. I think it's very easy to understand the emotions of President Zelenskyy. He has been the president of a country that has been attacked unprovokedly, that has been losing lives, people, cities daily. And I don't think that truth be told, I don't think he expected so much aggression towards him. That was, I think we have never seen anything like that at the Oval Office when the American leadership attacks the democratic country fighting for its existence so openly, so blatantly. So he should have been prepared for that. I don't think any one of us would have seen this coming. I mean, we have seen President Trump for many years, how he behaves, how he talks to people. I don't think anyone could imagine something like that happening. Him accusing President Zelenskyy directly of not wanting peace, of him not being grateful to the Americans and all of that. I don't see that this level of aggression could have been predicted.
Where do you see the relationship between the U.S. and Ukraine going forward under the leadership that we saw fight out in the open today for the entire world to see?
Well, truth be told, I think that there are many elements to those relations here. And I think that it's not just Ukraine and the United States. I do think that at this point of time, it's critically important how Europe will react to that. The European Union, the United Kingdom, other European countries, other Western countries, Canada, Australia, all of those countries have to react to that. And then if they react just by voicing their concerns, then it will be basically Ukraine left to deal with the United States directly. But if European Union, other European countries, the United Kingdom, Norway, if they come together and say, okay, if America doesn't want to protect Ukraine any longer, if they don't want to provide any more weapons to the Ukrainians, this is the list of weapons that we can deliver to the Ukrainians right now so that they can continue fighting. That will improve Ukraine's negotiating position in relations with the United States. So I think that there is a big room for the European Union to step in and for them to help Ukraine in this very, very tough, unexpectedly tough negotiations with the United States.
Mm-hmm. And going back to what Senator Graham said, he also said that the only path towards peace he saw at this point was if Volodymyr Zelenskyy stepped down or changed. At this point in time, for the Ukrainian people, what is more crucial, Zelenskyy's leadership or U.S. support?
I do not remember a history where United States trying to change the leadership of any country has ended up well. I don't think that is how allies should behave. I don't think that's a fair assessment of the situation. We don't have neither legal mechanism for Mr. Zelenskyy to step down, no political will, be it among political elites or the Ukrainian society. Nobody is ready for elections right now. We don't have a possibility to conduct elections right now. It would be illegal, according to the Ukrainian constitution, to conduct elections right now. So it's not possible, and I also think it's very wrong on the side of the Americans to ask an ally country to change its leadership. I do think, however, that maybe the main negotiator from the Ukrainian side should be someone different, and maybe there should be some mediator, someone whom both American and Ukrainian sides can trust, be it the British Prime Minister or anyone else, but it should be someone mediating those negotiations. But simply to call for the President Zelenskyy to step down because President Trump apparently has personal negative feelings towards him, that's just wrong. That's not how democracies work. Democracies works in the way where people elect their leaders. And that is how it works in Ukraine. That is how it doesn't work in Russia. And we will elect our leaders once we don't have drones flying over our heads every day.
Mm-hmm. Vladimir Putin must be sitting in the Kremlin with a big smile on his face after watching what unfolded today. Do you think what we saw strengthened his hand?
Oh, definitely. That I am absolutely sure about. Because what Putin is striving for is disintegration of the Western world, of people in the West fighting against each other. And that is what he has seen today in the media, taking place in the Oval Office. The allies, both countries who are committed to democracy, to liberal values, to protection of human rights, fighting against each other instead of fighting against Putin. So I'm absolutely sure that it was a bright right day in Putin's life. It's extremely unfortunate. And again, I very much hope that the European side will see that and will make the right steps to change this situation. I agree with one thing that Trump continuously says. He says that this is the war on the European continent, and Europeans should be stronger on defense. They should be providing their own security. And that is because Putin is much closer to Germany, to France, to the Baltics, to Poland than he is to the United States. So there is a truth to that. And I hope that all European countries will not let Putin enjoy this too much.
Ina Sovsun, member of the Ukrainian Parliament, thank you so much for your insights and your time.
Thank you.
And joining me from Washington, D.C. is Rachel Rizzo, non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, think tank's Europe Center. Thank you so much for joining us on the day, to you too. Rachel, what's your reaction to what happened in the Oval Office today?
I don't even know where to start with my reaction to what happened in the Oval Office today. I think it was about as bad as it could have been. Zelenskyy came to Washington hoping to gain more support from the United States, potentially hoping to sign this minerals deal, and walked away with not only Trump saying that the United States wasn't going to continue to support them, but now saying that U.S. support was actually incentivizing Zelenskyy to keep fighting. I haven't heard Trump say that before, and that's just a step further than he's gone in the past. So, I mean, this press conference with, J.D. Vance yelling at Zelenskyy pushing back, it was all playing out in the public sphere. I think, too, Zelenskyy at this point should kind of know how to deal with Trump and J.D. Vance. I didn't think he did himself any favors either. It was just a bad spectacle on both sides.
Trump said the heated exchange made great television. But what does it tell us about the state of American diplomacy?
Yeah, he did say that. I mean, at the very end of that Oval Office conversation, he said this is going to make good television. And certainly it did. I mean, when you look at the cable news channels running this, when you look at Twitter or X, but I think it does say more about American diplomacy abroad, which is that I do think that American allies and partners, especially after high-level visits from Trump's administration to Europe over the last couple of weeks, they're really calling into question what kind of partner is the United States? Is it a reliable ally? Is it someone we can count on? And I think the answer to that question, it's maybe not an automatic no, but it's certainly we're not sure. And so this will create a scenario where longstanding allies and partners are now going to look elsewhere. They're going to look at countries outside of the United States, other than the United States. And that, at the end of the day, I think weakens the U.S. on the global stage. It's not good for us.
Rachel, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has commented on what we saw in the Oval today. Let's listen into what he had to say.
Somebody asked me, am I embarrassed about Trump? I have never been more proud of the president. I was very proud of J.D. Vance, standing up for our country. We want to be helpful. What I saw in the Oval Office was disrespectful, and I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelenskyy again. He either needs to resign and send somebody over that we can do business with, or he needs to change.
So, Rachel, Graham there essentially calling for the resignation of President Zelenskyy or a change of attitude as a precondition for the continuation of talks. What do you make of that?
Well, I think what's good to note right off the bat is that, Republicans in Congress are all about sucking up to the Trump administration. So, of course, this is something that Lindsey Graham was going to say. Of course, he's going to say Zelenskyy was disrespectful and that he's never been more proud of a U.S. president. But I also think it's important to pull out the fact that there is some truth. There is a kernel of truth in what he's saying, in that, Zelenskyy's greatest asset is also his greatest weakness. this, which is that he is sort of this Churchillian figure. He's prideful, and that makes it difficult. That's made him a really good wartime leader. I mean, the bravery he has shown for the last 3 years should really be in the history books. But there is, I think, a question about whether or not he is the best person to take Ukraine into its next phase. And I think your previous guest, Ina, a member of Ukrainian Parliament, actually said that. Like, is he the best person to potentially do these negotiations? I don't think that the U.S. should be meddling in Ukrainian leadership. But at some point, there will have to be elections. I don't think it's supposed to be done now. I don't think that Ukraine is in a place to hold a presidential election at the moment. But I do think that there's some question about what Zelensky's future is and if another Ukrainian leader would be best suited to take Ukraine into its future, hopefully its post-war future.
Yeah. We didn't hear it in that soundbite, but Graham also said he warned Zelensky not to take Trump's bait. Do you think this could have been a setup by the Trump administration?
Oh, I do think that Zelensky really took the Trump JD Vance bait. I mean, I kind of said this before, but if leaders like Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer are able to put their egos aside, show up to the White House, flatter Trump, which is kind of what you have to do, even though it's, you're sort of like dealing with a toddler here in many ways, then I think Zelensky should be able to do that as well. But there's also, a sense of Ukrainian pride here that I really understand, and that makes it hard for me to come down on him too hard. But, there is a sense that you have to come to the White House and really flatter Trump, say thank you a bunch of times, which JD Vance said he hasn't done, even though he actually has. So I think he walked into it in some senses, and he could have done better.
The exchange, especially coming from JD Vance especially, was, it seemed to me at least, very condescending. Could you imagine Trump and JD Vance talking to a Vladimir Putin like that?
No, not at all. And it was condescending. And I was looking at some tweets from the White House reporter, Caitlin Collins from CNN, who said that looking at the pool reporters after the conference ended, Trump actually put his arm on Zelensky. So it seems like maybe Vance was seen as too condescending and he was maybe really escalatory in this meeting. But I do think I sort of hate the term that this was a win for Putin, quote unquote, because I think people use it too often. I mean, these are negotiating tactics. It's very detailed stuff. But I do think Putin probably watches press conferences like this and thinks, hey, like, this was pretty good for me. He's in a pretty good negotiating spot. The U.S. and Europe are divided. The U.S. and Ukraine are divided. So I think we'll have to wait and see how this plays out.
Mm-hmm. Let's look at how you think this can play out. Where does it leave Ukraine-U.S. relations and a potential peace deal with Russia?
Well, I think that's really to be seen. After the Oval Office presser, there was supposed to be a lunch. There was supposed to be, I think, another joint press conference. That didn't happen. I mean, Zelensky and his team kind of got kicked out of the White House. He was also supposed to do a public event at the Hudson Institute today, a conservative think tank in D.C. That got canceled too. So I think the future of this relationship is really up in the air. I do think that there's potentially a chance to smooth things over the coming weeks, where the two sides could maybe meet privately or have phone calls and see if they can come to some sort of agreement or deal. But at the same time, Trump is trying to do this with Putin too. And I worry that not only is Europe going to get cut out of these negotiations, that they've been worried about this for a while, but now, Trump sees Putin as Trump sees Zelensky as sort of insolent and not ready for peace, so he's going to get cut out. So I think a lot has to happen for this to go well for Ukraine, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that what happened today can get smoothed over, but I think it's going to be an uphill battle.
I think all of Ukraine's allies want to avoid a total breakdown of U.S.-Ukrainian relations. That was Rachel Rizzo from the Europe Center at the Atlantic Council. Great speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much.